Back at the book segment tonight, body language. Lots of political shifting around from Al Gore, Chelsey Clinton, and this exposition from Barack Obama on The View, where he talked about Reverend Wright.
Imagine if somebody compiled the 5 stupidest things you'd ever said.
Yes.
And put them in a 30-second loop that was played every day for 2 weeks.
These are sold on the DVD at the church.
Well, I understand, but I don't purchase all the DVDs, and I didn't read all the church bulletins. It's not to excuse it. Here's my only point. The vision that I talked about at the Democratic National Convention, that's who I am.
Okay. I notice that Barack Obama always tilts his head to the left.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, most of the time when you're tilting your head, what you're trying to do is demonstrate that you're paying attention to someone. So as you talk, I'll tilt my head, and that gives you the impression that I'm interested in what you have to say.
Really? So it doesn't matter whether it's tilted left or right?
No.
If you're tilting, it demonstrates that you're engaged fully in the conversation.
Yes.
Because he is.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the way he speaks, he's very aware of who he's speaking to. And, well, look, you can see.
Yes.
He turns around, he acknowledges everybody, he makes good eye contact. Now, he's got his hands. Look at his hands.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, what he does here is a lot of times he pulls his hands into himself, and when you do that, what you're saying is, I'm taking this on. So I'm taking responsibility for this.
Now, the hands are open. That's a good gesture. We've gone over this a couple of times, all right? So he's relaxed in his explanation here.
Poised, confident, absolutely.
All right, okay. Let's go on to Chelsey Clinton. Now, Chelsey Clinton is interesting. She doesn't do a lot of press, but she has been campaigning nonstop for her mother. Roll the tape.
His question is, do I think my mother will be a better president than my father? Well, again, I don't take anything for granted, but hopefully, with Pennsylvania's help, she will be our next president. And yes, I do think she'll be a better president.
You know, my impression right off the bat is that she does think her mother will be a better president. But I found it interesting that when she's asked the question and she starts talking about a father's presidency, she looks down.
What does that mean?
Well, maybe that's a signal that, you know, remembering her father's presidency doesn't elicit all good memories.
You think that's what it is?
That's one of the thoughts that passed through my mind. She spoke about her mom, and then when talked about dad, looked down a little bit. And then at the end, she gets very, like, you know, the big smile, the eyebrows. Yes, I do think my mother is going to be a better president.
When someone looks down, I always thought that means they're thinking about their response. So they don't want to be distracted about looking at somebody.
Yes.
They want to think and they look down. Is that a misnomer or
no,
is that true?
What you're doing a lot of times is collecting your thoughts.
Right.
Or certain times you're feeling guilt and shame, and I'm not indicating that that's what she's feeling. But sometimes it's also the avoidance of eye contact because you're not really comfortable with the subject matter.
I do that here. When I'm trying to think of something, I will look down rather than look in the camera or look at you just to try to get my thought process quickly.
I will tell you, though, when you do that, what you do is you take away a little bit from, not you in general, but anyone who does that, you take away a little bit from your credibility. It's much more powerful if, as you're speaking, you're making eye contact because...
All the time.
As much as you possibly can without seeming like a stalker.
Doesn't that spook you out when I'm staring at you?
Without seeming like a stalker. Right. So you want to look in this eye-nose triangle. And the reason for that is because you might be talking to me, and I'll make a quick expression, and if you're looking down, you're going to miss that.
Okay. Let's go to Al Gore, who is on 60 Minutes, and they want to know who Gore is going to endorse for president. Roll it.
Are they calling you every minute?
Not every minute.
No, a lot of pressure, though.
We unplug the phones for this interview, so I can't say with authority. But no, everyone, they both call, and I appreciate that.
Have you completely, totally put the idea of the presidency behind you once and for all?
Well, first of all, 60 is the new 59. So this is a new world.
So you're a young man,
I doubt very seriously that I'll ever be a candidate again.
All right, he's going to be 60, Gore. Did you see Tipper Gore's face?
That's what I wanted to talk about.
Whoa!
Yes. Did you notice there was the mouth got very tight?
Yeah, did I notice?
Yeah, and then the hard swallow. So the interesting thing is she took that question harder than he did.
Yeah, he's playing politics. He's used to that. But when Leslie Stahl asked him about the president. I thought Tipper Gore was going to punch Leslie.
Yeah, her mouth got real tight.
Didn't want that at all. Now, Gore himself is looking down and...
See, once again, I would go back to, that's something that, you know, when he was running for president, that was a really big deal. And he's looking down, and it's almost as if it's sad for him to get back up now and say, I think that was my last run. I'm not going to be, you know.
He's usually pretty stiff. He looks a little looser here.
Yeah.
He doesn't have anything to lose, right?
No, he looked like he was.
But he's looking down now.
That's the part where I'm thinking, this is now when he's going to say, I don't think I'll ever be a candidate again. And I think that is a tough thing for him to acknowledge.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you think it was just emotional pain that caused him to look down? I
think that it was more like, wow, this is powerful. And yes, I'm answering the question perhaps in a sad way.
All right. Tanya Ryman, everybody. Thank you, Tanya. We will see you next week.